Before you know it, a new documentary crew will come in and make a whole new documentary about us.
Well, that seems highly unlikely.
Excuse me? This is not even the first documentary that was made about us.
What?
Great to see you guys again, and to bittersweet to chat about the series finale, but it's such a fun one and really does round out the show well, like you both told me before that it would. Harvey, I'd love to actually turn to you first, because when we talked about briefly the finale before, you mentioned how emotional it was filming that, and given it's very emotional for Guillermo as well, I'm curious if you found that parallel to be almost a catharsis for you as you were filming this finale.
Yeah, it was, because it was the last day of shooting the series that I've been working on for, to like 7 years, from pilot to like the end. And it was the last scene of the show. And so it was kind of perfectly timed. That was all Paul Sims, who later I asked if that was on purpose. And he said, yes, that was on purpose. I think it was known that, I don't know, maybe I'm just the most emotional person on set or that he's a human. Like, I feel like it would make sense that Guillermo would be going through an emotional roller coaster, because remember, he's the only human and these vampires have been alive for so long that these things don't faze them. They're like, yeah, it's just another chapter, and like it's a blink of an eye for them. But for a human who, the clock's ticking and we're not immortal, and every day that's wasted not doing what you love, or wasted not achieving your goals and dreams, just means that you have less time on this earth to achieve it. And it was just it'll hit Guillermo at once. So it's kind of a really sad moment. And what is he if he's not this vampire familiar, vampire bodyguard, vampire nightclub embezzler, Van Helsing? Like, who is he if he's not all these things to someone else? And I think it was a good lesson that we can all learn, that you have to be happy with yourself and not try to be an accessory or an accommodation to someone else or a bigger picture. You have to be happy with who you are. And I think Guillermo had to learn that this season by going out in the workforce and seeing what he's made out of. And I think he's going to be okay. But it was really sad to shoot that scene. And it was, we started the series with Guillermo opening the door to the documentary crew and welcoming them into the house. And we ended with them literally walking away from him the same corridor, which was, I was a wreck. And then we wrapped right after that. And I was just kind of emotional wreck. I was like hugging Sarah Naftalis, who was one of our showrunners and, one of our amazing writers as well. And it was just like, wow, it's over. It's like done. And it was just a sad moment, but a happy moment, because we share these memories forever, and now it's out there. It'll live forever.
It really will, and I think that I can't wait for people to keep experiencing this show in the years to come, because I don't think it'll ever truly die. But talking about this being sort of a blip in the eye of the vampires, Mark, I want to turn back to you, because even though we learned that there was a documentary before, I'm curious. We still see Colin sort of show some recognition that Guillermo is going through this sadness, and I'm curious if you think Colin does feel any sadness or disappointment that this documentary is coming to an end, since he has always been a little different from the main group of vampires.
I think it's twofold. I think he sees a source of food leaving the house. I think anytime he has a chance to drain people that aren't the vampires is probably a good thing, because he does consider them his friends, the vampires. I also think it's just a moment where Colin is feeling bad for Guillermo. As much as we all are very flippant with each other, I think that, proximity has bred intimacy to some extent amongst the roommates. And so I think it's more of him feeling compassion if Colin Robinson's able to even do that.
was gonna say that would be a certain rare twist for any of the vampires, really, to feel that for Gizmo. But I like that though. That it makes even if it became a running joke of him saying a saying and then walking off, it still makes that moment a little more meaningful.
Yeah, I think think now that I was thinking more, Mark makes a good point that like there's been moments where the vampires do show in the way that they can that they do care. Like I remember there was a scene where when Mark's character asks Guillermo, spill the tea, like he genuinely wants to know like what's going on in his personal life. And Natasha's character Naja is like, asking as well. And so is Laszlo, and so is everyone, like, because it was all them trying to their best ability, like trying to be nice to him, but they don't know how. And they just are trying to the best of their ability. And I thought that was one of my favorite moments, I think, in the series, where they want to ask him and he's about to come out into that table where they were at the casino, and it gets ruined by Sean coming in with like a table full of like, what was it, like clams or something, or chips or something, and he ruined the moment. It was supposed to be this really sweet moment where they finally are leaning in and they're listening to him, and they're gonna hear him say what he wants to say, which is his sexuality was going to come out in that moment, and they are genuinely interested in it. It pains them, and then someone breaks the ice, that's what makes his comedy so great. The writers who like break that sweet moment with the most hilarious, like Sean dumping something on the table, is like, I got free clams because I said I found a hair in my, a piece of glass in my pasta or something, and just like that, like, but they do try. Like there's been so many moments when Colin Robinson has tried to the best of his ability, and it just doesn't pan out. But that is an ongoing gag. If you look back at the series, there's moments, really quick moments, but not big enough for Guillermo to hold on to. But they're there. Like the human side of them has always been there, and it's been linear to all the seasons.
I definitely think Colin and Laszlo for me have always been the ones that I've enjoyed seeing try to connect to Guillermo, because they result in some of the funniest moments, but also some of the most emotional moments. And so, Harvey, I did actually want to turn back to you because you mentioned, Guillermo's going to be okay after this, but I'd love to hear what you actually do think is next for Guillermo, because obviously we see that tease of the Batman elevator with Nandor in his coffin, but I mean, what do you feel might be next for him?
I mean, I while shooting this, we're like, this feels like this is a great thing because it leaves it open-ended for everyone to kind of come back. But it feels like this could be, a jumping point, like a spin-off for Nandor and Guillermo to fight crime together. So like, imagine a world where like someone's immortal, they can fly, they have superhuman strength, and then you have someone with like Van Helsing blood running through them, really smart and quick and great at combat. It makes for a really good duo that could potentially, be it's a show in its own. So I think that they go off and they solve crimes together, and they're partners. They're generally, not Tuxedo Man, and, but they do go off together, and I feel like they have an adventure, and they have each other. At the end of the day, they ended up with each other, which is what everybody wanted from the fan base. They ended up with each other, so I like that. They belong together, so it's nice.
I like that the way it ends too, and I like that kind of how we talked before. It's not necessarily a sexual thing. It is just a nice platonic but true loving way. It's a beautiful ending for those two. Mark, I want to turn back to you because I also love that in Nadja's attempt to hypnotize the documentary, we go into this Usual Suspects style ending, one of the most iconic endings in film history. And I'd love to hear what it was like for you recreating that through the wacky world and wacky lens of Shadows.
Yeah, anytime you get to take your character that you've been playing for a long time and stick that character into a situation that breathes new life into it, it's always a positive for an actor. When Colin Robinson became a baby, that was, something fun and challenging for me to figure out. And this was no different, trying to put Colin Robinson into a noirish film like The Usual Suspects, and while keeping in mind his entire backstory that we filmed prior to that was really exciting for me and really fun. And just getting to play in that world of The Usual Suspects. Our crew did such an amazing job with recreating the look of it, and the set. Everything was so precise that it made my job so much easier, because you just fall into that character and that world. And so it was really, really fun. Like you mentioned, it's an iconic film. It's a great film. And I think it's, for those who know the film, they'll be pleasantly surprised.
It is a great little homage to it. I mean, well, I guess it's sort of a parody, but at the same time,
sure,
it's such a fun moment, and I think people are going to love it. And I'd almost be curious to see a follow-up in which Colin Robinson just breaks down the entirety of Usual Suspects. I feel like that's the perfect energy-draining moment for him to pull on somebody. So this next question is actually for both of you guys. We've seen so many amazing vampire genre cameos throughout this show's run. I mean, we even had Skarsgård just 2 episodes ago, and I'd love to hear from you both. What's been your favorite major vampire genre cameo to see and or work with throughout the show's run?
Go ahead.
I didn't really get to, Mark might have had more of a thing, because I didn't really get to be in the council, like the Vampiric Council, and they had all these great cameras, which, by the way, most of them shot like remotely. I think they weren't even really there.
They weren't there, no.
I'm trying to think of cameos that weren't vampires that we've had such a, Rolodex of like great guest stars that like come through. And I couldn't just pick one, but we had like, Mark Hamill, like that was a huge one. I remember like we were all like waiting the arrival of Mark Hamill, like it was like Downton Abbey or something, like by the door as he like entered, because it's so iconic. We had Haley Joel Osment, like we had so many people. Vampire wise, I couldn't say specifically. Maybe for my own like personal, like as Danny Trejo was like a big one. And then I got to work with him after that on a project, and he's lovely, but I never got to work with him on the show. Pan Oswald was another guest star that like was supposed to be a Guillermo-like character. And so we've been very lucky. Anyone has, I got excited when Marissa Jarrett Winokur joined the cast, because I'm a big musical theater fan, and she's Tony Award-winning Hairspray Tracy Turnblad, So we've had a lot of people who've come and play with us, and we've been very lucky to have them all.
Yeah, as far as vampires, those Vampiric Council scenes were filmed separately, and so. Like Paul Rubens, I would have loved to have met him, but he was filmed separately. Tilda Swinton, that was separately. That was all done in LA long after the fact. But like Harvey said, we've been very, very fortunate to have such great guest stars and cameos. Sofia Coppola, Jim Jarmusch, I would have loved to have had Gary Oldman in as a vampire, who is actually a resident of Palm Springs full-time, oddly enough. You don't think of him in Palm Springs, but yeah. We were always very, very lucky with our guest stars. Steve Coogan, just people that you wouldn't necessarily see on American television, and we and that that's a credit to the writing and to the production of the show, getting the respect that is necessary in order for names like that to join a show was really a privilege to get to work on a show like that.
Harvey, I just want to turn to you really quickly, because I'm a huge fan of Mike Flanagan. I love that you're part of the life of Chuck, and I'd love to hear what your experience was like, and if you can maybe what you're allowed to share about who your character is in the world of Chuck's life.
Yeah, that was, Mike's a fan of What We Do in the Shadows, and him and his wife, Kate Siegel, I've always admired their work, for years and years, and I met them at an event, and they were so lovely. They just called up and they said, hey, would you do as an honor of coming to, we're filming in the South and just be a part of this? I can't say much of what it is, and it doesn't, but I will say it's a really quick thing that he was really sweet about. He was like, I want to put you in this film, and it's going to be really quick, couple of days, and but it's getting great reviews, and it premiered at TIFF, and it's coming out in theaters next year. And I'm just really excited to be part of the Flanagan world because, Kate actually produced a film after that, and I joined her in that film and came on board as one of the leads on that. That's yet to come out next year as well. So, working with Kate and Mike both has been amazing, and we just want to continue to work together. So it's really great. Being part of that world is very special. Once you're part of that world, you feel it. You're like, oh, everyone works with each other on everything constantly, and it's really nice to be invited to come play. I'm very fortunate and very lucky.
Well, I can't wait to see what comes of you in that, as well as in Kate's movie. And Mark, hopefully we can see you join that Flanagan-verse in the near future. But regardless, I look forward to chatting with you guys both about future projects and keeping the word alive about Shadows. This show has just meant so much to me throughout the years, and it's always an honor talking with you guys.
Well, thank you. Brand.
That's cool.
Thank you.
I don't think you need a layer, though.
And where am I supposed to put my supercomputer?
Your what?
My supercomputer.